Hello and welcome back to CQ, the AWS Certification quiz show. Going a bit off script this week, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting looking at our Certified Advanced Networking. This is one of our specialty exams, so it's a big pressure on you today. Kurosh, welcome Kurosh. Tell us a bit about what you do here at AWS. I'm super excited to have you with me today.
Thank you MJ, and thanks for having me. It's definitely a privilege to be on the show and to be your guest.
Thank you.
Excellent. So my name is Kurosh Lohraspi. I'm a solution architect at Amazon, been with AWS for 3.5 years, not that I'm counting.
A bit of a veteran.
In Amazon years, you could say that. I'm a generalist solution architect, so I look after all of the services that we have, and I look after a number of customers, which I'm extremely privileged to work with. My specialty and my area of focus in Amazon is machine learning and data science.
You're a bit of a guru for us, right,
Kurosh? That's a bit of a stretch, but yeah, I'll try to. But I personally come from a networking and infrastructure background.
Perfect.
My previous employer was Citrix, and I was focusing in some of the really cool stuff that was happening back then around application delivery controllers and WAN optimization and software-defined WAN.
So couldn't have got a more perfect special guest for today, because you do realize we haven't looked at this exam yet.
All right. Okay, so bring it on.
I'm excited. Kurosh, before we move on, I believe you actually just got back from ReMars, so tell us a bit about what happened over there.
Yeah, that was definitely one hell of a week.
What is ReMars for our viewers?
ReMars for our viewers is the conference that we ran actually for the first time this year, about a month ago in Las Vegas. So ReMars stands for M for machine learning, A for automation, O for robotics, and S for space. It was a conference which was done by Amazon.com, in fact, but AWS had a lot of work to do in the conference as well. So I was co-presenting in a session named Enabling Sustainable Human Life in Space Using AI, where we talked about how to enable the first Mars colonies in Mars, basically first settlers, give them the best chance of survival on Mars, given that there are a lot of difficult situations and challenging situations to overcome. One of them is actually networking.
There we go.
This is going to be our topic today. So most of the missions that we run currently, like international space stations or the low orbit satellites, they have really good connectivity back to Earth.
Okay.
This is not the luxury that we have in Mars. In best of situations, we have 3 minutes of delay back to Earth, and in worst situations, weeks of communication cutoff. So in part of my presentation, I talk about a new protocol stack that is coming to life these days called DTN, or Disruption Tolerant Networks, which is being developed by NASA and JPL. And
just drop a few names there.
Yeah. And I think the video is out. I haven't watched it. I usually don't watch my videos.
I know, you never do. Well, I've watched it many times, and I'm going to get producer John to put the link in our online chat for our viewers, because it's awesome. And just quickly, Kurosh actually also provided, because he's not got enough skills going on as it is, our backdrop for today. Where are we streaming from today, Kurosh?
Yeah. So I'm a hobbyist photographer as well. I usually have my camera with me when I travel.
Yeah.
Earlier in this year, I think it was around February, we had a work conference in US, and a few colleagues and I decided to hire a car, this car, to drive from San Fran to Yosemite. So this is Yosemite West, our Airbnb place, and I was dealing with jet lag. I woke up early in the morning and I saw this beautiful sunrise. And that's the photo from our
It's such
Airbnb
a gorgeous
place.
photo. I love it. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here with me today. Just a reminder, we are looking at one of our specialty exams, first time today, Certified Advanced Networking, and the book is available at wiley.com, also available at amazon.com. Kurosh, are you ready to jump into this?
Let's do it.
I'm a bit nervous today. I'm going to be pretty useless, I feel. All right, question 1. Ease you in. VPC endpoints. Got it?
VPC endpoints, yeah, let's do it.
Which one of the following is a security benefit of VPC endpoints?
Excellent. I'm sure most of the audience who are listening, who are tuning now, they know what is VPC endpoint, but just to give you a quick description of what is VPC endpoint.
Yep.
So there are some services, MJ, that are sitting inside your VPCs, like EC2, for example. And the VPC is a completely isolated network where you control the entire end-to-end traffic and networking. But we have a number of services that are sitting outside your VPC, basically on the internet, like S3, like DynamoDB, and so on and so forth. in order for your EC2 instances in your VPC to get access to those outside internet sitting services like S3, you need to provide these instances with internet connectivity, which is basically having internet gateways or NAT gateways and so on and so forth. So we come up with a service which was a managed service designed with reliability and availability in mind and everything that basically avoided having the internet connectivity on the VPCs and having direct access from VPC to these internet sitting services such as S3 as a managed service.
Perfect.
That's called VPC endpoints. Okay, so we're going to talk about security benefits of VPC endpoints.
Key point in the question there, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's go. Number one, they provide private connectivity that increases performance to AWS Cloud Service.
I mean, it's a bit wishy-washy for my liking, Kurosh.
Yeah, it is way too vague and too high level, and it is not talking about security, it's talking
Not
about
at all.
performance.
Cool. Number two.
Yeah, number two, they limit access to services from the internet. Interesting. Reducing who can access the APIs and services that AWS provides. So this answer kind of
it's incorrect, right?
Tricks you into the security side of things. That limits access, talking about access, so it's security. But the keyword here is from. VPC endpoints are not talking about traffic that are coming from internet. It is about traffic that is going to internet services such as S3, Amazon internet services such as S3. That's definitely a no-no.
Yeah, it would be an enabler. What about number three?
Number three, they provide greater availability and reliability than public endpoints, which increases security by limiting access to DDoS attacks. Again, this is trying to trick you into security.
It definitely is trying to trick you.
Yeah.
Availability, reliability.
This could be security metrics, and definitely when you hear DDoS and say it's definitely security. But again, the VPC endpoint was not designed to prevent DDoS or was not designed to increase security by limiting access. That's definitely a no for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're left with option 4. I think the answer is 4.
I like what you're trying to do, but
So they provide private access. That's definitely hitting the tone.
That's what we're looking for.
Limiting the number of instances that require internet access. Yep, as I said, we have a bunch of instances that need to access these internet services such as S3, but we don't want to give them internet access. So it is definitely limiting those instances not to have wild world internet access, but only go to our internet provided services such as S3. Yeah, I'll go with 4.
Locking in number 4. Our online poll has actually locked in number 3. So
interesting.
Are you happy with your answer? There's a lot of pressure on. This is the easy question of our deck today.
I am definitely happy with my answer.
All right, let's reveal the answer. 4 it is. All right, moving on to question 2. Virtual private network. You ready?
VPNs, yeah, let's do it.
How would you configure a VPC to accept VPN connections so that many users could connect using an open VPN-based client?
Okay, this is a tricky
I like
one.
This
let's analyze, let's break down the questions into the important keynotes.
And just a reminder for everyone online, please feel free to vote along by clicking the number that corresponds to the answer. Okay?
Stuff. So let's analyze. We're talking about VPC.
Yep.
We're talking about VPN connections, plural.
Yep.
And we're talking about users. Actually, users is a really important keyword here.
Okay, and why is that, Kurosh?
Okay, we have 2 types of VPN connectivity in the networking world. We are talking about side-to-side connections, which is going to enable one network to connect to another network using VPN over internet or any other medium.
Yep.
And we have client-side VPNs that enables access from individual users to a certain destination network.
Okay.
So here, the keyword for me is users and OpenVPN client, OpenVPN-based clients.
Okay.
So we're talking about user access and client VPNs. Let's look at the answers.
Here we go. What are we thinking about number 1? No one voting for this one on the online poll at the minute.
Attach a virtual private gateway to the VPC and establish connections to it. Attach a virtual private gateway to the VPC and establish connection to it.
For more of a permanent connection, right?
Correct. Let's keep this here.
Okay.
We'll come back. So attach customer gateway to the VPC and establish connections to it. Yeah, customer gateway is basically what in AWS language, what we refer to as customers routers. And you cannot attach customer routers to a VPC basically. So that's definitely out. Create an AWS client VPN endpoint and attach it to the VPC subnet. Yeah, that looks good.
So we just released this about 6 months ago, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And this was one of the most wanted features by customers because we have a lot of users like developers or data scientists, for example, or machine learning engineers who want to get access to these VPCs without the need to go through a proper site-to-site VPN connectivity or direct connect. So yeah, I think create an AWS client VPN endpoint attached to the VPC subnet is the correct answer.
That's what we're looking for, right? More of a temporary connection? Yep.
Correct. But let's look at 4 as well.
Okay.
It is not possible to create temporary VPN connections to a VPC. As you said, not as a managed service, it wasn't available. You could definitely go use some of the services out there like Citrix NetScaler or F5 or Cisco and set that up in your own environment. But we created a managed service for that. And I think the answer is 3.
Locking in number 3, happy with that. We got 50% of our viewers online agreeing with you.
Excellent.
3 it is. Thank you, Kurosh. All right, I think we've got a question from Mr. Bob. Welcome back, Mr. Bob. Great to see you back. Question for Kurosh. Is advanced networking the hardest speciality exam? Like I have heard. I got the security speciality cert last Friday. Well done, Mr. Bob. Congratulations. Thoughts on the advanced networking?
First, Bob, absolutely congratulations.
That's massive. Well done.
I think security specialty exam is one of the hardest ones. Networking, I come from a networking background, so I'm a bit biased. I think it is not one of the most difficult ones. I'm hearing a lot about our machine learning specialty exam. That it is actually difficult, and you need to have good knowledge on stats and algorithms and everything.
No maths.
Yeah,
I'm hearing the same. Machine learning tipping the hard scale, but security, massive. That is a known really difficult exam as well.
Yeah.
So.
And if you come from an infrastructure or networking background, I think you can definitely go for advanced networking.
Cool. All right. Let's jump back to our question.
Good stuff.
Which is our next one, sorry. Amazon Route 53. Why is referencing an ALB or CLB by its DNS CNAME recommended?
Mm-hmm.
I cheated there a bit, so you might have to explain what's what.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have application load balancers, and we have classic load balancers, and we have network load balancers. They're part of the family of load balancers that we have in AWS. Why is referencing the DNS CNAMEs, or basically DNS names of those load balancers, is recommended?
Yeah.
There are 2 options. You can reference them by an IP address, or you can reference them by their names. And usually, it is always recommend you to reference them by their IP addresses by the names, because the IP addresses can change. We're dealing with a massively scalable service at the back end, application load balancers or classic load balancers, and those IP addresses can change over time. So if you hard code those IP addresses into your systems and those addresses change, you will be in hot waters.
So quite a simple one, and just as a quick note, 100% immediately jumped on answer 1.
Yeah, exactly. IP addresses may change as the load balancer scales. DNS CNAMEs provide a lower latency than IP addresses. That is not necessarily true because DNS resolution can add
and we're not looking for latency here anyway.
Exactly. So. You want to preserve the source IP address of the client. Yeah, there are other ways to do that, and definitely addressing a load balancer with IP address doesn't help with that. And IP addresses are public and open to the internet. Not necessarily you can have your application load balancers or classic load balancers sitting in a private VPC. Absolutely number 1.
Happy with audience? All right. I mean, I'd be worried if we made a mistake there. Awesome. Let's move on to question number 4. Oh, speaking of DNS, here we go.
DNS.
You have the enable DNS hostname attribute set to true for your VPC. Mm-hmm. However, your Amazon EC2 instances are not receiving DNS hostnames. What could be the potential cause?
Okay, so keywords: enable DNS hostname, VPC, instances, and not receiving DNS hostnames.
So the entire question.
Exactly. And what? And could?
Let's jump into it. No one voting yet, so having a bit of a think online, I think.
Yeah. So first, DNS resolution is not supported over VPC peering. That is not true. I think 2 years ago, we enabled
Yeah, a
that.
while back,
So
yeah.
VPC peering, you can do DNS resolutions, and the question is not talking about VPC peering. Number 2, you need to configure your Amazon RAD53 private hosted zone. Not necessarily, because enable DNS host names enable instances to get public IP addresses from the VPC. Private hosted zone doesn't help here.
Okay.
Number 3, a domain name prefix has not been assigned to the VPC. It's actually the first time I'm hearing that you can attach a prefix to the VPC. I don't think you can, and
I'm pretty sure that's just incorrect.
That is very incorrect.
Okay, good.
That is very incorrect.
But I'm glad it even makes you think. This makes us feel better, you know.
Yeah.
So number 4.
Enable DNS support is not set to true. Yeah. If you are enabling DNS hostname attributes and you don't have enabled DNS support
you need
turned
both,
on,
right?
yeah, it's not going to work. So I'll stick with number 4.
Online, we got 43% agreeing with you. So a little bit torn there, but 4, it absolutely is. So both attributes need to be set to true.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Let's move on. CloudFront. Oh.
CloudFront, my favorite service after SageMaker.
Producer John, how many of our guests have now said CloudFront is their favorite service? All right, here we go. And I promise, it's not a coincidence at all. This is. What does Amazon CloudFront do when it uses HTTP live streaming, HTTP dynamic streaming, smooth streaming, and MPEG- formats for streaming videos? I like this. Good real life scenario, right?
Yeah, these are some amazing protocols. Video is a big thing these days, right? In social media.
I mean, I've heard.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think we are doing this over video as well. So.
Apparently so. So Kurosh, when I watch a video online via CloudFront, what's happening there?
So,
talk us through that.
99% of the time, you are watching a video that is being streamed using one of these protocols. HTTP live streaming (HLS) is a protocol owned by and created and developed by Apple. HTTP dynamic streaming is a protocol that was designed and developed by Adobe. Smooth streaming is a protocol that is developed, I guess, by Microsoft. Yeah, I think it's Microsoft. And MPEG- is a protocol that is kind of an international standard, doesn't have a vendor as the owner. But they all do one thing. They make your video watching experience a lot more pleasant. So if you load a video, for example, if you put a video on S3, put a CloudFront distribution in front of it, and basically stream that video right off the bat, every time you want to watch that video and you want to scroll that video, you have to download the entire content. These have issues with the experience that the user is getting, and also the cost. If you're streaming 1 hour of video, you have to send egress cost out of S3 for that content for users to basically watch. Now, with these type of protocols like HDS or HLS or MPEG-, we are breaking that content into really small chunks, like 2-second chunks, and then having a manifest downloaded to the user client saying that what are the relationship between these chunks. What is chunk number 1, what is number 2, what is number 3, and you can download and stream the parts that you are watching, because because of the attention span that we have, we usually don't watch videos end to end.
Yeah, switched off from you like.
Exactly. So let's look at the answers.
Number 1, what do we think?
Require use of native Amazon CloudFront media player. We don't have media player. We have a lot of services. Definitely media player is not one of them.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Good.
Number 2, encapsulate video into pull rather than push formats to allow clients to adapt to changing conditions. That's a really
Sounds
good answer.
pretty good to me.
One thing that I forgot to tell you about these type of new protocols for video streaming is that you can encode these videos into multiple bit rates for different network conditions. Sometimes you're watching something on a really bad network, like a 3G reception, or sometimes you're watching over really fast networks and you want to stream 4K or stream 1080p. So we encode these videos into multiple formats, and these chunks can basically what we call them adaptive bit rate that basically can adapt to your network performance that you're getting as a user. Yeah, I will definitely go with this answer. We are breaking down the video into pool chunks that the users can request from us.
Do you want to quickly talk through 3 and 4?
Yep, use multiple edge locations for improved performance. That is wrong, but very tricky. We do not serve single users from multiple edge locations. And also send parallel streams for improved performance. Not really. The whole premise of these protocols are to basically break down videos into smaller chunks so you can send them really quick.
Awesome. So locking in number 2?
Locking in number 2.
Few people locking in number 2 online. Let's close that poll, producer John, and the answer is indeed number 2. 5 for 5 so far. Just in case you're wondering.
I think I'm good.
All right, let's move on to some more security, shall we?
Nice.
You wish to implement known attacker protection for a website that resides behind an ALB. You have subscribed to a threat intelligence service that posts hourly IP reputation lists. So a bit like virus checks, right?
Kind of, yep.
What combination of services will allow you to block traffic based on this threat intelligence? I like this one too.
Good stuff. So let's talk about the architecture of something like this.
Okay.
So we have a lot of bad actors over the internet. For example, botnets, a completely compromised set of IP cameras, for example, in one country. And they could be used to launch a DDoS attack or a DOS attack from those botnets all the way to the destination, right? So that's why there are a lot of security companies out there, such as Imperva, such as Fortinet, such as a lot of them out there, that provide you with a list of known bad actors, or we call them IP reputation lists.
Okay.
And because this list is so dynamic, it needs to be updated very frequently. And the way to do that is either to subscribe to one of these really expensive, really awesome though services to scrub your packets, or you can definitely develop something for your AWS environment. And the question is about that.
Yeah.
What services should we hack together to get an IP reputation list every hour? Is it hours? Yeah.
Hourly IP.
Yeah, every hour, to be deployed to your web application firewall.
So we need to look for something that enables that schedule, right?
Exactly. Option 1, CloudWatch, Lambda, and WAF. That is, I think, the correct answer.
You look shocked.
Yeah, because you can schedule things using CloudWatch.
CloudWatch, that's what you need, right?
So you schedule every hour, you get a new list, and you use Lambda to basically push that new list into a WAF rule. That makes sense. Number 2, CloudFront, Lambda, and WAF. CloudFront.
So we don't need CloudFront.
No,
Yep,
no,
cool.
we don't need CloudFront. Yeah. CloudTrail, Lambda config. CloudTrail is basically your logs of what's happening in AWS.
So not going to help us in this instance. Config. What about config?
We need WAF. Yeah, we need WAF to basically be the central point for these IP reputation lists and drop traffic if it's coming from those bad actors right at the edge.
Perfect.
Yeah. And CloudTrail, CloudWatch, Lambda, also same thing. No.
So lock it in number 1. That's our architecture.
Yep.
On the poll, we got over half gone with number 1, but I think a few products in there to make people think about, right?
Yep.
1 it is. Happy with that?
Number 1.
Just, so swift through these. I thought there was going to be a bit more trick in you. No, not at all.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to hybrid architectures.
Ooh.
You have a hybrid IT application that requires access to Amazon DynamoDB. You have to set up AWS Direct Connect between your data center and AWS. All data written to DynamoDB should be encrypted as it is written to the database. How will you enable connectivity from the on-prem app to DynamoDB?
Got it. So when we're talking about hybrid, we're talking about some form of network connectivity from your data centers or colos back to AWS. So we're talking about either VPN or Direct Connect. In this case, we're talking about Direct Connect.
Basically, how do we send stuff?
Exactly.
Direct Connect.
Your application is writing into DynamoDB, and it needs to be encrypted. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that.
Okay.
As it is written to the database, I don't think here we're talking about encryption in transit. I think we're talking about encryption at rest. Basically, it is saying that your application, that's the way I read it, the application needs to encrypt the data before it hits your database.
Okay. The poll just did a big switch. I saw it switch as soon as you said that last sentence, so very interesting.
So how will you enable connectivity from on-premise application to DynamoDB? Anyway, we're not talking about security here. So set up a public virtual interface. That is probably the correct answer. Because as I said, DynamoDB and S3 and
you're put off so much when the answer's number one, right?
Exactly. Can we change the
note
order?
for the ML exam that I'm going to bring you back for. All right, but tell us why you like public and VIF.
Correct. So when we connect on-prem data centers or colos back to AWS, we can send traffic to your VPC, right? However, as I said, there are services that are not sitting inside your VPC. There are internet residing services such as S3 or in this case DynamoDB. So we came up with this feature called public virtual interface or public VIF. With these public VIFs, we allow your on-prem applications to hit those services without requiring to go back to the edge of internet and come back.
Okay.
So we are basically using public VIFs to connect your on-prem applications to a service like Dynamo. Set up a private virtual interface? Nope. That's the exact opposite of what I explained. Set up an IPsec VPN over public virtual interface. Again, I don't think the question is about encryption in transit, and IPsec is trying. IPsec is trying to trick you. And same thing for number 4. Yeah, I think the question is asking our applications are writing encrypted data into DynamoDB through Direct Connect, which needs a public VIF. Done. Number 1.
Okay, number 1 it is. Let's have a look. Close the poll. 1 it is.
Awesome.
Hopefully we got that message through. It was a bit mixed for a bit of every answer on there for number 7. I don't know if you can believe this, but we're actually on to our last question already.
Ooh,
we barely ever hit all 8 questions. We'll come to the tip, Producer John. Let's finish the questions first. All right. If I change the screen, that would be very helpful. Which of the following has the highest route priority in the border gateway protocol? Oh, haven't heard of this. So, path selection algorithm used by AWS. This is new for me. Talk me through it.
Okay, let's talk about routing on AWS and when we use BGP. Routing in AWS is a little bit different than your normal routing that if you come up from the data center networking or WAN networking background. Just a little bit. I'm not saying it's too different, but it takes a little bit of adjustment to get used to it. Okay. So when we are connecting your on-premise network back to AWS, we are using either static routes to say, hey, these are the routes that are sitting in your VPC, these are the routes that are sitting in your data center, and you know each other and you talk to each other.
Okay.
Right? Or we are using a protocol like BGP that is basically propagating routes between your destination network and source network, and we'll do that dynamically.
Okay.
Okay. So BGP is our only protocol that we support for route propagation from your on-prem network into AWS VPC and whatnot. And the question is basically asking, what are the priorities? How do we select one route over another when we have conflicts? Basically, when we are going to the same destination, which path do we select if we have multiple paths?
Okay.
Which one has the highest priority? Number 1, static routes. In the traditional networking world, we always give preference to static routes over dynamically learned routes.
Okay.
But very tricky. No. In AWS, I just looked at number 2. In AWS, we always give preference to the routes that are local to your VPC. Because we don't want to take the traffic, your traffic out of VPC, out of your VPC.
Okay.
So I would definitely
No one has
prioritize.
chosen number 2 as yet, Firoz.
Interesting.
Number 3 is the most popular answer at the minute. Can you talk us through that one?
Yeah, shortest ACE path. Okay, I'll give you a scenario. Let's say you have an on-premise data center and you want to connect it to your AWS environment.
Okay.
And you have 2 networking connections between that and AWS. Could be 2 direct connects, could be 1 direct connect and 1 VPN connections, could be tens of direct connects because of whatever reason, right? These traffic that is traveling from your data center to AWS and vice versa, they have the same destinations. So we have to select which one is going to be used. You might have preference. For example, one of your connections is a 10 gig the direct connection. The other one is a backup 1 gig link or a backup 50 meg link.
Okay.
Right? And you want to always send traffic using your 10 gig link rather than your backup connection.
Okay.
That's why you give preference to your routes.
Yeah.
One option that we have in BGP networking with AWS is called AS path prepending, which talks about giving preference to a certain route that is learned via BGP by making the other route look undesirable.
Okay.
So in BGP, we have this concept of autonomous systems, where if you travel from one destination from one source to the destination and travel through multiple of these autonomous systems, you are traveling a longer distance than if you travel only through one.
Okay.
So we make the other routes look undesirable by fooling it, by telling that you have a lot of autonomous systems in between. That option is called AS path prepending, which gives you route priority from one link to the other. This is definitely a good answer. However, it is not the highest priority.
Okay, there it is. And quickly on number 4, why we're not
BGP routes from a VPN. That's definitely not the highest priority.
That,
So if you have a direct connect connection and you have a VPN connection as a backup or non-backup, AWS always give priority to the routes that it's learning from your direct connect, because direct connect obviously is a cheaper option and it is a much more reliable connection.
So locking in number 2.
Number 2 is yeah.
One of us remembered. And number 2 it is. Kurosh, we have actually gone over time, but seeing as every guest gets to do their own tip of the week, I don't want you to lose that opportunity. So, quick tip on people, maybe studying their first exam, anything that's resonated with you.
I think the tip I want to give is that the lesson I have learned over years, going through many exams, is always stick with your gut if you have absolutely no clue.
I mean, that's how I get through life, Kurosh. So I love this.
Exactly.
This is my favorite tip so far.
Because the thing is, MJ, that when you are looking at questions you don't know the answer, usually the first question you pick is the one that is being selected by your subconscious.
Yeah.
And usually subconscious has a lot more processing power than when you are narrowing down your thoughts into a certain subject. And that could be very tricky. So if you really don't know the answer, stick to your first answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with me today, Kurosh. And welcome back anytime, ML, next time.
Done.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today on CQ. We'll be back in 2 weeks again. Apologies, we're not on air next week. So 2 weeks, we'll be back with the next CQ. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.